Okay, so Maul Shadow Lord episodes 5 and 6. Things are progressing. Maul and
Oh yeah.
Devin, yes, Maul and Devin. Like I said last week, Maul and Devin. But what are your immediate reactions to episode 5 first?
Yeah, so I believe last week when we were talking, I was bringing up how like two boots calling in the Empire though, you only have so many choices you can make, and I like that the show showed just how maybe naive that assessment would be. Like obviously in the moment, none of the characters could know exactly how bad it would be for all of them, especially like Lawson. He was only vaguely aware of the Jedi, and he didn't know that there were going to be like magical evil wizards that could then detect if he had met a Jedi before and stuff. But I like how they showed just how bad it is when the Empire shows up. And for once, maybe it's just been so long since I've cared about Star Wars that had like big stakes like this. Andor, we all cared deeply about because it was very gripping, but like so much of it was much smaller scale, and they made it
Mhm.
feel much bigger. This is probably one of the first times in a while that they went for something so grand scale as Sith and Jedi and stuff, and it actually felt like a compelling conflict with characters that I didn't want to be in danger. Like I actively was rooting for them, which I haven't felt in Star Wars outside of Andor in a hot minute. Just because usually you just go, okay, let's see some explosions, let's see stuff happen. But in this case, like I think the characterization they've done with Lawson especially has just made protagonists that you care about, and then Maul shows up and you're like, I can't trust you, but I would rather have you than the Inquisitors right now. And I love how they put us, the audience, in that same kind of vibe with the characters.
Yeah, it's a great point that you mentioned that because something I thought about was the tension in this episode where first you were talking about Lawson, his interrogation. Rook, she got permanently transferred, which I don't know if that's just a soft way of saying they just got
Well, the
her out.
captain, no, she did. She dead
Yeah,
dead.
well, I was like, they might have just got her
If
outed
they reveal
completely.
that she's alive, I'll be surprised because
Yeah,
they very much set that up to infer that she was dead, and she's
yeah,
not an important enough character to survive. So if she does live, I've got a few questions here.
yeah. I have to read between the lines on that one. But back to what you had said, talking about how establishing how when the Empire shows up, bad things happen. Directly
Hmm.
following up with the last episode. So I like that they kept that consistent there too. Of course, you have
Yeah.
an Inquisitor shows up too. I didn't watch again. I
Hmm.
didn't watch any trailers, so I think the Inquisitor may have showed up. Merrick may have showed up in the trailer. If correct me if I'm wrong.
Uh, I think we knew him, and I think there's like one other character that like we saw the design of. We don't know who they are yet, but we did see the design of one other character as well, who hasn't shown up just yet. Um, but yeah, like so far, just even with this one Inquisitor, who I guess we do have his name, but like all he did was show up in Ahsoka, get killed, and turn into a fart cloud and die. So like it was nice seeing them try to give him kind of some established context for why he would be so scary, as they view him in the Ahsoka show, even though that show didn't do a good job convincing us of his danger. I like how they portrayed him as a relentless hunter, just there to take down the Force sensitives, including Maul and Devin and Master Daki. And then he's also going after Lawson and Riley because they're collateral. They're harboring fugitives. They just gotta die.
Yeah,
I,
that was.
I think again, comparing the scale and stuff for Andor, like, if an Inquisitor and this many stormtroopers showed up, then Andor, they never would have won. And I like how Andor still feels more tense most of the time because of the directing and stuff. But this show, at the very least, they have these grand scale response, like, oh, there's a force sensitive there. We got to send out Marok and a ton of stormtroopers. I like the scale of the Empire's crackdown because it makes sense. Like they need to deal with Jedi. I would want to compare it a little bit to the like Rebels show because I feel like the Empire maybe didn't dispatch exactly this much spice towards the Rebels, who I think posed a bigger threat than Devin and Daki. But for Maul, okay, it kind of makes sense because Palpatine especially knows how dangerous Maul would be.
Yeah, definitely one of his something that he always keeps in mind too, Palpatine, and even going back more talking about Riley. Riley contacts his mom, which we were talking about that. I think it was in the first read that
Yeah,
we
no,
did
they
talking about. Yeah,
they had
one
her
of the
show up,
contacts.
and I appreciate that they just kind of wove her in like that briefly. But yeah, I'm curious to see if she does anything to try to pull some strings inside the Empire to get Lawson and Riley out of danger or not, because she's very much set up to be a loyalist, and if not, I'd
Yeah.
be curious now if she shows up in another show. As much as I hate setup for other shows, like I'd be curious if we see her in the extended parts of the universe, kind of showing up maybe as an Imperial remnant member in the Mandalorian and Grogu show or the movie, or like something like that, because they gave her more characterization than I expected, and I respect that honestly.
Hmm. Talking about a character, talking about respect, someone I don't respect. Yes, I know he is a droid, but two boots, Mr. Goody Two
Yeah,
Shoes again.
now Two Boots has got to be like one of the biggest like bag fumblers in the history of Star Wars. Like, sure, we can talk all about how like, well, Padme just ignored every red flag in marrying Anakin, or oh, the Jedi were so close, but they failed this and this. But like, Two Boots drat like the proportions of like the bad that happened after like how seemingly innocuous his action was. This has got to be the largest fallout I've seen from a like a simpler decision, at least as it was framed for that character specifically to make.
Yeah, and the fact that he escorted Riley out when Riley was trying to check on his dad, and Two
That
Boots.
that's for the best. Riley would have
Yeah,
just gotten killed by like the stormtroopers or the Inquisitor.
yeah, and so just even Two Boots still following protocol, still very pro Empire per his programming too, and even
Hmm.
touching upon how Episode 5 ended with they're harboring the Jedi, and like Lawson just comes home to harboring Jedi. It's like, oh, so he knows what's about to come next too, but he's already been teetering on that line of like, you can't go back because yes, the Empire did let you
Hmm.
go out that interrogation, but you've already reached the point of no return. Once they bring you into the room,
Yeah.
it's already too late. It's this point of no return.
Yeah, I mean, even if he didn't go full rebel mode right now, like he is, like he would have just been kind of slowly sapped away by the Empire until they decided he wasn't useful anymore and killed him.
Exactly.
But I do like the stakes of him being told, like, yeah, no, if you're harboring Jedi, you're dead. And then he comes over, there's just, oh, Jedi, I did not even invite them here. So like, I don't have time to even grapple with the moral dilemma of like, do I surrender them and hope me and my son live, or do I spare or like cover for them, but then probably get myself killed? He doesn't even
Yeah.
have that choice. He's thrown into the action immediately, and I liked the just the tenseness. Like they do a good job of keeping it engaging and concerning for the characters for sure. The pacing is really good in the show, and I think it's something that a lot of the live action shows have been missing. Is just kind of this consistent pacing that moves the story forward. No scenes kind of feel like they're unnecessary.
Yeah. Especially with the episodes being about 20 minutes or so each. And even
Hmm.
transitioning into episode 6, Night of the Hunted, what I like is that you have Master Docky explain the purge to like in a shorter way, of course, but
Hmm.
explaining yes, we were hunted, like we were purged, the Jedi, pretty much paraphrasing what he was said, and they had to avoid the Empire. And it's kind of a callback to what Devin said episode 5 about how much longer are we going to be on the run, hiding, and like what are we
Hmm.
waiting for? Waiting for Luke Skywalker, but still, like what are we waiting for in that regard too? So I did like how they had that aspect of it too, like the on the run aspect that definitely kept me engaged in the episode too, and just even more about the character interactions. They
Hmm.
feel they don't feel forced. The writing of the interaction doesn't feel forced, of course, even though storyline wise they have to work together, but it doesn't. It
Yeah.
still comes off in a believable way. And what were some of like the big things that you immediately thought of, like about episode 6?
So I mean, between both of these episodes, something that I watched episode 5 last night and episode 6 like literally just an hour ago or less.
Hmm.
Um, One of the things I noticed last night, especially because I just found episode 5 so engaging. I was like, man, the contrast between Dave Filoni directing animated Star Wars and Dave Filoni directing live action Star Wars, like, this needs to be studied. It's insane because, like, pretty consistently, Filoni's animated stuff has been good. Like, we all grew up on Clone Wars. We love Clone Wars and stuff. It had a few misses, but like as a kids show, it was pretty solid. And then
Hmm.
Rebels, I need to watch through the rest of it, but I've enjoyed what I've watched so far. And then all the things we've had since of like the Tales series, the episodes I've seen have all been really good. And it's just like I think Dave Filoni works excellently as a director for the animated medium because he understands kind of how best to make Star Wars in animation, because animation sets up so much for like the exaggerated movements, the cool kicks, twirls, spins, lightsaber duels. Like I think animation is easily the best format for a lightsaber duel because it lets you cheat in ways that like a real live action would never be able to. Um, but then like even outside of just the visuals and like the fight scenes and stuff, like I don't get how this show, stays so compelling and like the plot beats are pretty consistently like, there's a reason this is happening, at any given moment. And then you compare it to the live action shows, and there's so many episodes where like nothing happens in the episode, or sometimes even the season ends, and you're like, what? What? Nothing happened here. And so yeah, it's so weird. I guess this isn't exclusively a problem that he has with live action though, because there were like the episodes with the Martez sisters or whatever at the final season of Clone Wars, where they literally spent a whole episode. They break out of jail, dirtle around, end up in jail by the end. Like, there's definitely some stuff, but I think pretty consistently the live action is a grade below the animated. So that's been my main takeaway, just kind of meta narratively about all this, is just how much more confident I think Dave Filoni can be with animation, and how I would like to see him primarily focus on animation going forward, and maybe let some other directors take on live action like we saw Tony Gilroy do with Andor.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something I think about too sometimes. How Dave Filoni definitely gravitates. Like I tend to like him more in the animation medium too, but and I think also too is I think with him, it's gonna probably come more so time just working in the live action space. So I know it's been more of a. I think maybe it was Mandalorian. He really started getting more into the live action space. So maybe he just has to get more
Mhm.
XP in that too. But there's one thing to get the X.
Maybe, but like
But it's one thing to get the
Mandalorian
XP.
season 1 was the best live action Star Wars season we got. Again, Andor notwithstanding, Andor is
Yeah.
just somehow so different from everything else. But like, you compare all the live action shows, with the caveat, I will exclude also Skeleton Crew and Acolyte just because I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
But at least for like all the ones that happened during like the timeline of the like Clone Wars through the like end of the Empire, Mandalorian season 1 was great, and then everything since then has kind of steadily gotten worse. So like I don't know if it's experience. I think just the way he tells stories is so set to be like very grand scale epic adventure, and that just works better in animation than it does like live action.
Mm,
Just because you're way more limited in the scope of how you can portray things in live action. So they have to make smaller things seem even bigger, or big things in such small spaces that you're looking at like a scene that's clearly like filmed in a small green screen room, and you just don't get the right scope of like 50 stormtroopers shooting at someone because it doesn't feel that big because it's too small visually.
mm. Yeah. I think it's just about kind of like maybe in a way live action was kind of like tightening the scope in some sort, especially with
Yeah,
those like serialized episodes of The Mandalorian too, and even just kind of thinking
yeah.
back. Oh, good.
Well, and the timing for Mandalorian episodes too, because they're usually, or really all the live action shows were like 40-minute episodes, right?
Hmm.
And you mentioned that 20-minute Clone Wars time frame. I think that's might be part of it too. Is like Filoni can do great action scenes, and he can do great setup for those action scenes, but he needs to be kept on a tighter like budget because limits breed creativity. And I think he does a great job with a more constrained 20-minute scale than the 40 minutes as well.
Yeah, and I think it helps too to have someone like a John Favreau who also works on The Mandalorian too. Like him having that live
Mhm.
action directorial experience helps a lot. That you kind of like it's kind of like in being a tandem. So that might be the way to go moving forward, especially with the like running the company. Like you have to delegate and
Yeah, I'm
things like
curious
that.
now that Filoni's in charge, as people were clamoring for him to do for years. Now that he's been put in charge, like, I'm curious to see what his whole creative direction will be. I've been a fan of his work for a very long time. I'm hopeful for it. But like, especially just watching Maul here, it reminds me a lot of what I love about his work, which is a nice kind of breather after the last probably 5 years or so of Filoni content. Um, and also, like, Andor was really good, and this is what the first show since Andor, and it's pretty good as well. Like, hopefully, this is a trend that continues of them putting more effort into the writing of Star Wars instead of just inflating the budget more and more.
Yeah. Speaking of the writing though, I think of the scene with Vario, Mr. Well, we already know how the Mr. Penguin himself.
Hmm.
His scene with Maul. and he's talking about, am I free to go, pretty much? And Maul says, I mean, you could take chances. I mean, I argue
He's
that
like, "Yeah, if
without
you wanna
even
go and
out of
die,
you,
go for it."
like if you don't take your chances, and then Vario, like a good boy, decides to stay with Maul, and so like yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I
Empire's here.
loved that scene so much.
It's a great scene. It is one of those. It's a scene that it's another way that encapsulates Maul's character. Like he is driven and mission focused. Like even when he's training, he's doing his meditation type training in that sequence that we saw. Like he's
Mhm.
focused on something. He has this belief about Devon. Yeah, of course, we know like jumping ahead, like he helps out Devon, of course. But even going back, we have a situation where master and apprentice end up separated. Docky gets to end up with Lawson, and then you have the youth with each other, Riley, which I wonder
Mhm.
how the presence of Maul, how that's gonna have an influence on Riley too. That's something
Oh, yeah.
how they're gonna
I'm
touch on.
I'm so curious to see because I think Maul is getting kinda somewhere we saw some with Kylo, and I think they've tried exploring a few times of like, we've seen good guys turn bad. How does a bad guy turn good? And obviously we know Maul won't turn good. Like he ends in a vengeance trying to kill Obi-Wan and gets killed off in a duel that way. We know how his story ends, but like you can see he's starting to have some degree of compassion for other force sensitives, or at the very least a solidarity because he understands that they need each other to survive.
Yeah,
And so like that feels a lot more light side, but clearly he's trying to go it in a dark side, like become my apprentice kind of way.
yeah,
And I find him an interesting exploration of kind of the like more gray area, as we've seen they try to make Ahsoka be a little closer to the dark side. I'm curious to see how much they do that with Maul, or if he's truly just full on dark side user that is evil, but not as evil as the Empire, but also pretty evil. And
yeah.
I think we'll see him continue to get worse, but I'm wondering if there's gonna be like a break point where he's like almost turning into a more neutral character.
Yeah, because the show does have moments where it does remind you that yes, he is still on the dark side. He's not a Jedi. He will resort to
Mhm.
more, aggressive tactics, like as we've seen in other previous episodes too. I guess he's here
Yep.
to save Devin, but it's really because it's a Devin thing. It's not because he's doing it because he wants to save Riley and the other stuff, the kindness of his heart. There's a purpose that he sees, and it goes
Yeah.
back to there's no one he hates more than Sidious. It's really a Sidious thing, which I think that's who we saw at the end of this episode, Sidious, with based on the hood.
Uh, I thought
Is
I
that
heard the.
we heard? I don't.
It sounded like Vader breathing. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, cause
I'm
I,
pretty sure that was Vader though, because
yeah,
Vader
cause
was the one in charge of the Inquisitors as well.
yeah, cause I was thinking like, cause I saw like the black. I think I saw like a black hood, so I was like, is that Sidious?
It was either a hood or it was like the edge of his cape. Let me pull up the clip real quick.
Yeah,
See if I can find it. Um,
yeah, cause I was thinking like that looks. Of course, either Vader or Sidious, one of the two, but I was thinking more Sidious, kind of based on like the view
mhm.
that I saw.
I mean, we're so used to Sidious being the one on the hologram at any given moment from
Yeah,
episode 1 all the way through episode like 6 and stuff
yeah,
of, the main Star Wars movies, but hang on. Oh, I was wrong. It does not make the Vader breathing noise. So, it could be Maul's, or I mean, it could be Palps, or actually I think it's a new character because I'm now remembering that other character that I mentioned also had a hood.
hmm
Now, that character's identity, I don't know. So maybe that character is like something crazy that is like a big twist reveal. But
not
that's my prediction is it's this new like super inquisitor basically character.
not Star Killer, not Star Killer.
If they make it Starkiller, that would actually be so hype, but
Yeah,
it's like impossible to do Starkiller,
in a in
faithfully to the game, which even if they do find a way to adapt him in, I hope they never try to make him as strong as he is in the game because he literally can kill
Vader
anyone because
Sidious.
he has that like edgy Star Wars OC energy. Like he's just so good because he's the strongest, baddest guy. Like he feels like a cringy, fan fiction. As much as I love him,
Yeah,
but having Starkiller show up in the show that Sam Witwer is the main lead in, and then having Sam Witwer come back as Maul or as a Starkiller, that would slap. That would actually be really cool.
yeah, that definitely would be cool, and you never know. You never know. It's like maybe we would
Mhm.
see a Star Killer someday too. But even transitioning more. What do you think will happen in these next couple of episodes? Like, what are your predictions that you have?
I mean, I think surely someone has to die, right? I mean, I have a feeling uh Master Daki dies.
Oh yeah, it's
As much as I want him to survive, I'm surprised he's made it this long. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him die. Other character wise, I'm honestly not sure. Like plot wise, I have a feeling we see Maul escape, obviously, because we know he lives. Uh, I have a feeling Devin survives because they want to set her up to be a character for other stuff too. But I would hope she's self-contained to just this show, and they can make it just her story
mhm,
and not set it up so that she's a character elsewhere. Uh, I have a feeling Riley survives just because I feel like they don't want to
yeah.
kill off the kid character. But if they kill him off, I will be so like shocked, and honestly, I'll respect it. Like sometimes you gotta be a little ruthless, but
We need
we'll
we
just
need
have
more
to
of
see
those.
how they handle it.
We need more of those mother son talks. Imperial mom to her son. We need more of those.
Hmm.
We need more of those little moments. So hope they don't kill him
Also,
off too soon.
I just learned something. I was looking at some cast stuff real quick. The underworld contact that Lawson has. Do you know who the voice actress is for her?
For Soul, I
Yeah, Rena Soul.
I who is it? I don't know.
That's Bobby Hill from King of the Hill. Pamela Adlon. She's voiced Bobby since the beginning of King of the Hill. Voiced him in the reboot as well. I did not realize that was her, and that's so funny that like
Wow.
I knew there's a few other cast ones that are similar. Like Vanessa Marshall we know is also Hera, and then the guy who plays Vario is the guy who voices Donald in Invincible. So you mentioned Invincible, go
Yeah.
watch it. He plays Donald, the bespectacled buzz cut guy. Uh, yeah, no, interesting. Uh, anyways, that's a whole side tangent. But I just was looking at the cast and I saw Pamela Adlon. I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Bobby Hill.
Bobby Hill helps out Lawson, but I do like. I feel like there's a reference that Soul and Lawson may have had a relationship at some point. I feel like there's the
Oh,
underlying.
100%.
I was like, I
No, no,
caught that. I peeped
that's
that.
100% implied.
Because even the
Because I
way,
mean, you even see like Riley have
like,
to figure. He's like, wait a second, Dad's like clearly emotionally and like romantically close with another woman that's not mom. Like they set up that drama subtly, but I do like how they did it.
yeah, and that goes back to I like how some things are. I like the subtleties in this show, where it's not just there like they're not gonna spell it. Like they'll show it, but they're not gonna like spell everything out. So if you're paying attention,
Mhm.
you'll get it. So I like when the show has those type of moments. It
Yeah, it didn't feel a need to over explain it. He
Yeah,
was like, oh, we helped each other survive for a while or whatever. And like, I don't even think they needed those lines, but I appreciate that they
yeah,
didn't just go like, oh, and we were also an item for 20 years
20
before I
years.
left her and married Riley's mom or whatever. Like, I'm
Yeah,
glad that they didn't just feel way too over the top trying to do that.
yeah, that whole we helped each other out. Another Obi-Wan Satine situation, except w- with Maul being in the vicinity. Wow. Wow,
Yeah,
well, look at that.
I'm curious how long it takes for her to show up again, or if she's truly just kind of lost. But since we didn't see her get killed, we saw her swarmed by stormtroopers but not killed. I have a feeling we'll see her. That I think that's my one prediction is over the next 4 episodes we'll see her return.
Yeah, yeah, and even then, I think there'll be a point where again, I don't think Devin will fully go to the dark side at all. I don't think so. But I think we'll see big thing more of that integration, especially now that she's with Maul and she's kind of away from the influence of her master too. Because you even saw how she was having those little philosophical discussions with her master, how there was some not like straight
Mhm.
tension, but there were some disagreements or some ways like, oh, you should go about this way or
Yeah,
that way.
I mean, he
So
literally says like, "Yeah, it's your voice, but I hear Maul's words," and you're like,
mhm.
"Oh, he knows. He knows that
Ooh,
Maul's a corrupting influence."
ooh, no, 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 not our Devin. No, Devin, no. But yeah, but the show has kept me interested. For me, I don't from what I've seen, I don't have any like real major complaints about the show thus far.
Mhm.
Which is ideally a good thing because I mean we've mentioned before like making videos in the past about stuff like yeah we're like with Mandalorian season 3 we were all over it. All we were all. So
Yeah.
we will be critical if
No,
needed.
I appreciate that so far I've enjoyed every episode and felt like it had a reason to be there,
Yep, yep,
which
that's
is really should be like the bare minimum for like a good show, but like it is appreciated all the same because not every show is as good at doing that.
that. And the show has not bored me either. I do want to mention that 'cause
Yes,
sometimes
exactly.
you'll watch a show, you'll well, it's probably like you'll look like you'll be like, yeah, to do something else like, oh, let me catch up, watch the show. A few
No,
weeks
this
go
has
by.
had me pretty actively engaged, and I'm happy that it has.
Yeah, and hopefully over these last four stretch of episodes, hopefully they can continue to do that.
Yeah, hopefully they can stick the landing because Disney as a whole does not stick show landings very well very often. So again, and or notwithstanding, so we'll see how they can land it.
Mm-hmm.